The scenic Bretton Woods, where policymakers established the contours of modern global economics. Why we need to study the Bretton Woods system? According to the authors Lisandro E. Claudio, Patricio, and Abinales, they says that after the two world wars, world leaders sought to create a global economic system that would ensure a longer lasting global peace. They believed that one of the ways to achieve this goal was to set up a network of global financial institutions that would promote economic independence and prosperity. The Bretton Woods system was inaugurated in 1944 during the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference to prevent the catastrophes of the early decades of the century from reoccurring and affecting international cities. The Bretton Woods system was largely influenced by ideas of British economist John Maynard Keynes, who believed that economic crises occur not when a country does not have enough money, but when money is not being spent and thereby not moving. When economies slow down, according to Keynes, governments have reinvigorate markets with infusions of capital. This active role of governments in managing spending served as the anchor for what would be called a system of global Keynesianism. Delegates at Bretton Woods agreed to create two financial institutions. First, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or IBRD, or World Bank, to be responsible for funding post-war reconstruction project. So what does it mean if we're going to possess reinvigorate a type of bank who are responsible for funding post-war reconstructional or reconstruction project? It was a critical institution at a time when many of the world's cities had been destroyed by the war. Second institution was the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, which was to be the global lender of last resort to prevent individual countries from spiraling into credit crisis. If economic growth in a country slowed down because there was not enough money to stimulate the economy, the IMF would step in. So, if you're going to ask why they need to step in order to help and to aid our country, kasi yung International Monetary Fund, sila yung tumutulong sa atin, sila yung nagpapahiram. Pero hindi sila basta-basta nagpapahiram kung wala silang batayan at basihan na kailangan mo ng tulungan. Hindi ka pwedeng manghiram doon sa IMF kung nakikita nilang progressive pa masyado yung isang bansa, yung bansang tinatahak mo ngayon. The same thing that what our president, 16th president did in the person of Rodrigo Rua Duterte, he was able to mention about the IMF. Anong tulong nito sa ating bansa? Bakit kailangan natin manghiram? Bakit kailangan natin mag-ask ng ayuda? Kasi dami nagkakomento, corrupt. Oo nga, corrupt sa material na bagay. Pero kinukurap naman natin ang tamang pamamaraan para mabigyan pansin at tugon ang pangangailangan ng ating bansa. Bakit kailangang i-corrupt pa natin yung tamang idea sa mga kabataang dapat nilang marinig? Pilit nating sinasarado ang kanilang isipan upang mabuksan sa tamang pamamaraan, upang matugunan ang pangangailangan din ng ating bansa. Mabigyan ka ng tamang pag-iisip sa tamang pamamaraan kung paano palaguin ang isang ekonomiya ng isang bansa. Malamang at sigurado ako, tagumpay ang ating makakamtan. Panay tayo corrupt, government are corrupt. Tayo din, mga corrupt din tayo sa mga isip ng ating mga kabataan ngayon. Kasi hindi natin ibinibigay sa kanila ang tamang rason, pamamaraan upang sila magkakaroon ng independenteng pag-iisip, pag-unawa at pagbigay ng solusyon. Simple man o mabigat na problema ay kaya nilang magampanan sa pamamagitan ng kanilang tamang nakuwang impormasyon. Hindi puro negatibo. We must be optimistic enough in solving our own crisis into our own country. Huwag tayo masyadong umasa. Magtulong-tulungan tayo. Hindi yung panay, nakikita natin ang mali ng bawat isa, pero hindi mo nakikita yung mali ng iyong sarili. Before mo kunin yung puweng sa mata ng iba, kunin mo muna yung puweng mo sa iyong sariling mata para makita mo ang katotohanan. Shortly after Bretton Woods, various countries also committed themselves to further global economic integration through the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. Ito yung GATT in 1947. GATT's main purpose was to reduce tariffs and other hindrances to free trade. Ngayon, may nagtatanong, sir, ano nga ba talaga to ang tinatawag na what is the Bretton Woods System talaga, sir? Prof, ano ba talagang ibig sabihin nito? The Bretton Woods System is a set of unified rules, that policies that provided the framework necessary to create fixed international currencies or currency exchange rates. Essentially, the agreement called for the newly created IMF or the International Monetary Fund to determine the fixed rate of exchange for currencies around the world. The Bretton Woods System of monetary management established the rules for commercial and financial relations among the United States, Canada, Western European countries, Australia, Japan, after the 1944 Bretton Woods Agreement. So, the Bretton Woods System is a set of unified rules, as what I said a while ago, and policies that provided the framework necessary to create fixed international currency exchange rates. Sir, ano yung main agenda? Prof, bakit kailangan talagang pag-usapan si Bretton Woods? So, the main agenda of Bretton Woods Agreement, ito yun. The Bretton Woods Agreement and system created a collective international currency exchange regime that lasted from the mid-1940s to the early 1970s. The Bretton Woods system required a currency pegged to the US dollar, which was in turn pegged to the price of gold. So hindi basta-basta na mag-create ka lang nito, may price of gold ka na ginagamit at the end. Mali pala yung pamamaraan natin. Kailangan unawain muna natin para mas lalo nating maintindihan. Hanggang sa malaman mo din kung paano magkakasalungat yung mga rates na narinig natin ngayon. Sir, ano itong tinatawag natin ngayon na what is yung exchange rate in monetary policy? An exchange rate is just a price. The price of one country's currency in terms of another country's currency. Okay? So, if the exchange rate from United Kingdom pounds to US dollars is 1.35 equivalent to 1 pound, then the US will going to buy that one to $1.35 equivalent to the money of the United Kingdom. So hindi mo pwedeng 52 ang dollars, bilhin mo din ng $1 kasi $1. So hindi ganun. Pilipinas ka man, kung Pilipinas rate is 52, sa United States $1, so bibili nila yung pera natin sa $1 is equivalent to 52 pesos. Okay? Sometimes you will hear that the pound has got stronger or appreciated. An exchange rate-based monetary policy allows the government to retain greater control over macroeconomic outcomes such as GDP and CPI inflation, and thus over the ultimate target of price stability. So gaano ka-importante ang exchange rate? Aside from factors such as interest rates and inflation, the currency exchange rate is one of the most important determinants of a country's relative level of economic health. A higher value currency makes a country's imports less expensive and its exports more expensive in foreign markets. Kuha na, bakit mahal masyado pag mga imported? Pero hindi tayo marunong mag-patronize ng sarili nating produkto, balik-balikan talaga yan para matauhan din tayo paminsan-minsan. Mahilig tayo magbili ng mga branded, mahilig tayo bili ng mga signature, pero hindi tayo mahilig magbili o bumili ng sarili nating produkto. So ano yung mga halimbawa ng exchange rate? Exchange rate versus US dollar. That is, the exchange rate is the price of a country's currency in terms of another currency. Pilipinas, halimbawa, 52. So $1, so equivalent to 52 pesos. So in order for you makakuha ka ng $1, kailangan magbayad ka muna ng 52 pesos. Pera natin yan. So bakit ang Woods system o Bretton Woods system ay na-create? The Bretton Woods Agreement was created in 1944 conference of all of the World War II allied nations. It took place in Bretton Woods, the New Hampshire, under the agreement. Countries promised that their central banks would maintain fixed exchange rates between their currencies and the dollar. So, hindi pwedeng $1, 52 equivalent sa atin, pas batasan, hindi pwedeng ganun. Fixed pa rin yun. Hindi pwedeng sobrahan. Pwede pa siyang bumaba. Okay? What were the main objectives of the Bretton Woods system? The goal was to make it easy to convert from any currency to the dollar, which had a known value in gold. This helped facilitate the exchange of currencies. The agreement also established significant international organizations like the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. So what are those key elements of Bretton Woods system? Bretton Woods system's key elements are the following: the IMF or the International Monetary Fund, fixed exchange rates or rate, gold standard, exchange rate regime, the euro, balance of payments, the central bank. So now, if you are going to ask, bakit kailangan parehas yung rate na binibigay natin o parehas yung binibigay natin na pera? Imposible naman yun ibigay na ng libre. Imposible naman $1 plus ang equivalent sa Pilipinas is 52, magbayad ka lang ng 50 pesos. Hindi pwedeng ganun. So, you need to follow. May standard tayong pina-follow na dapat din nating sundin. Kaya kung may mga relatives tayo o yung parents natin nagtatrabaho ng abroad, you're so lucky because you're able to experience such a rates na malaki yung value ng pera ng bansang pinagtrabahoan na kaysa pera natin. Pero mas mahalaki ang value pag pinapahalagahan natin ang paghihirap ng ating mga magulang at pinamahal natin sa buhay na nagtatrabaho sa ibang bansa kasi hindi nababayaran ang pangungulila. Naway magkataroon din tayo ng katuturan na bigyan din natin ng halaga ang kanilang pagsusumikap para din sa atin at sa ating bansa. Mag-iingat po tayo palagi. God bless us all.